I know when you mentioned the building, right, within within a certain space, how you design the lighting to help people sleep. I know some hospitals actually do that. I read some research papers a while ago talk about inpatient hospitals, how they notice those lightning and also the schedule of the lights and impact their patients' sleep schedule. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that in turn impacts when they, how they heal and how fast they get out of the hospital, right?
Right. If you don't sleep well, you heal slow. Yeah.
Yep. Tremendous benefit for ICU delirium as well. People are in the hospital so long they don't know when is day and when is night. So it's really important for that as well. Yeah, it's a really important topic, and I think that one that almost everyone takes for granted. The lights, you got to switch. It's super easy. You turn on the lights and you can see. You turn them off and and then you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's just so much more than that. And just kind of understanding that is really the key. And I think that we're at a point where we know that light at night or blue light, people are talking about blue light at night and what comes from screens and how it inhibits sleep, but I think it's so much more than that. What it is it's really this idea of brighter days and darker nights, and blue light is absolutely the culprit that's driving it. This newly discovered photoreceptor, it's a sky blue photoreceptor, so it's looking for those long wavelength blue light wavelengths, or light colors, I guess you'd say. And so it's really just taking that information, and so it's going to other regions of the brain, not to what drives vision, but goes to the regions of the brain that drive your vigilance, your daytime cognition, increases in mood. I think I might have said alertness. And then it also synchronizes our circadian rhythms. That tells our body that it's daytime. And getting lots of it synchronizes our rhythms, and our circadian rhythms is, I'm sure is not just about sleep and wake, although that's a big part of it. We're very complicated creatures, so we're doing things at a very specific time every single day. I think a study in 2014 said that 83% of our genetic expression is circadian, which means that we're doing the same thing at the same time every single day. So it's really important and really fundamental to our health. And I think that when we're getting to the point where we're talking about blue light and blue light at night and how it inhibits our sleep. But the thing that I've been focusing on is that these walls and the way we normally design offices actually isn't giving us enough of the daytime lighting. So it's that brighter day and darker nights. So we kind of understand that we want to make it darker at night, but we're not paying nearly enough attention to the daytime component. And that, I think, is so important because it's telling our body it's important for health, for our cognition, our mood. Light is critical for our health, and we don't even realize it. And I think that's the point that I would love to make to anyone who's listening. And when you get that basic bright daytime signal, that's the foundation for your circadian rhythm. So at night, it's very clear that this is nighttime and it's time to sleep.
Yeah, I'm so happy you mentioned that. A lot of time when we treat patients with insomnia, we always encourage them to understand sleep is not only a nighttime thing. You want a good sleep, you need to start from the daytime, right? Start from the morning. The whole day, what you're doing will contribute the quality of the sleep at night. And so we talk about morning natural sunlight exposure is so important. And when you mention daytime, like in the room, how much light you get. So I want to ask you, what do you, how should we understand the, light within the building, within the room versus the natural sunlight? And is there a way they can be equivalent, or there's no way nothing can replace natural sunlight?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So here in the States, so I think that daylight is the best, obviously, and if you could get outside, try to do that. So easy recommendation, probably one that you provide to any of your patients, is that, get outside early morning, get outside and go see the light. Sunlight is ideal for your sleep that night. It sets your circadian rhythms, lets it know it's daytime, and the clock starts ticking until that
Mhm.
next nighttime, right?
Mhm.
But when we're inside, um, unless you are facing at the window, the light coming from those windows is just not enough. Um, it's about, you get about 20% of what, if I just turn. So actually, I'm looking out a window right now. So I've set up
Okay.
my office to have a where I'm facing out a window, so I get enough light. I have also some Skyview products that we developed that are also beneficial, which I want to point out. They have some weird effects that I would be surprised that I was surprised by.
Mm.
But if I go here, when I just turn over here where I'm not facing that window, now all of a sudden I'm getting so much less than what I need to be getting. So the last year in February, a consortium of photobiologists and circadian experts came together to put a recommendation of how much light we should be getting. They had a metric for determining the circadian effectiveness called melanopic EDI, which is equivalent daylight illuminance. And we need 250 melanopic EDI in terms of lux. But if so, here I have, and my window's huge. It's really quite wide to pretty much the ceiling. If I turn, so if I'm here facing it, I'm getting more than I need. But if I just turn over here, now I'm getting about half of what I need. So unless, and I think what's really interesting is that when you look at behavior, most people in most buildings, you have a choice. You either face the window or you
Mhm.
face the door, which means that if you're facing the window, your back's towards the door. And
Right.
I think privacy is the priority over daylight exposure for most people.
Mm.
So this is always the challenge, is that, trying to get around behavior, trying to get, you know, trying to create a solution as an engineer, but one that they're actually going to use. That's
Mm.
the challenge. I mean, I'm sure you have. I've talked to sleep clinicians as well, and they talk about, like you said, morning light. You prescribe a light box, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But the compliance on these light boxes is like so low.
Right.
At least all the people that I talk to, it's a big box of light. You got to sit, next to it for 30 minutes a day. Nobody has the time for that.
Mhm.
Um, and so they're always frustrated because they know it works. They know light boxes work. But the people don't want to use it. It's either too bright, too uncomfortable, too, you know, like invasive look. It almost like says, "Hey, there's something wrong with me." Um, so I think that people are just kind of embarrassed to kind of use it.
Mm.
Um, so we're always kind of thinking about, and yes, you should look out the window, but what if you're not looking out the window?
Mhm.
So we try to come up with something that we thought was, going to be beautiful, that people would want to have. So we developed this product that kind of brings the essence of being outside inside. Um, it's called our Skyview product. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about a product on this podcast, but we're pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
Um, and so we, from all the stuff that I did at NASA, we like had to. It's an amazing thing when you think about it. These newly discovered photoreceptors, nobody cares about them.
Mhm.
So they make these LEDs that are specifically tailored to vision, not biology at all. So if you just tailor it to the biology, you could actually have a light that is exactly where you need to have it, no matter if your back is towards the window,
Mm.
facing the door.
Mm.
Um, and it gives you everything that you need. It meets that wellness criteria all by itself, and it just plugs into the wall. And I think that's really important in kind of solving this issue. One, people don't give light enough value, and
Mhm.
two, things like light boxes are too unusual. that people are going to go, well, I don't want to do that. It just feels like something that I
Right.
know it might be good for me, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to, like, tell people there's something wrong with me.
Yeah, so it sounds like you and your team use science to really try to solve a real life dilemma. I do want to ask more about that product. I'm curious about that personally, but also I want to clarify the window thing because I heard some different research before. I also have a window bed on my side, according to you, all right? I'm not
Yep.
getting enough. So I heard from some researchers when you directly face the window, it's still the window will filter out possibly 50% of the natural sunlight. So even when you face the window, it's still different than when you step outside.
That's right.
But so I want to ask you first how you think about that, and will this filtered sunlight still be enough? And sounds like you think it is enough. And of course, if you turn away from the window in different directions, you're going to get less and less.
Absolutely. As you get further away and as you turn different directions, but you're absolutely right. So if you're facing it, you get enough of the sky blue, which is good for circadian rhythms. We're actually kind of looking at this next frontier of photoreceptors that are looking at violet light, not ultraviolet light, but kind of this visible violet light that's important for eye health, things like myopia and development, but even like energy metabolism. I think there was you had a guest previously talking about sleep and energy metabolism, right?
Yes.
And so in the same way, we're doing stuff with a group, a big hospital in Cincinnati, using metabolic chambers and light to kind of see what happens. And there's some really interesting data that I can't share here. It's not mine to say, and it's still unpublished.
Sure.
But a lot of these windows are filtering out specifically those violet lights. So even though you're talking about 50% reduction, because the violet light is close to UV, that UV is the stuff that, degrades your materials, starts fading things. So they block it all out. So these windows are blocking out a ton of this violet light that's super important for eye health, super important for metabolic health, super important, and we're still finding out what else it's useful for. We're actually doing it. So this hospital, we've employed it in an NICU, and so we think it's actually really important for developmental health as well. So again, yeah, to your point, the window's good and facing it is better for circadian health, but there's some other things that those windows are absolutely filtering out that we're just not getting at.
Yeah, I think this is very helpful for me to understand, and hopefully the audience gets deeper knowledge about this. So it's not just about the amount of light you need.
Yeah.
The light is very complicated. There's different little component in it, and different type of specific light can like impact our health differently, right? And it could be beyond circadian rhythm, beyond sleep, and even eye health that I never really think about before you mentioned this to me. So it's like really think about what type of light you're getting, not just amount the light you're getting.
That's exactly right. And one more thing, because a lot of times, people might think about, they might be like, oh, circadian lighting is the color of the light, right? And these receptors that are driving this are not the visual receptors. So it may look like you're changing the colors, but it's not doing really much biologically at all. Maybe a behavioral thing, but it's not really getting at the core of what these wavelengths are. So they use the short wavelength blue, which is right in the middle of that violet that's important, and the long wavelength blue that's also important. So like almost pinpoints the stuff that's, visually looks important, like it's a lot's happening, but biologically it's really kind of missing the whole point of healthy light.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because wavelengths, it's not something we could easily detect as, general public, right? How we're gonna know? We're gonna have to trust those products, those lights around us, and what is available. And so
That's right.
color is something we could see. So we thought, oh, this possibly is it. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Yeah, and it's you know, of course, if you go outside, it's all very broad, right? So it's
Mhm.
covering, it's got them all covered. And our eyes, take all that information. But what we did is we tailored all these spectrums to be the most energy efficient, and all we were measuring for was vision. We didn't even know these other things existed. So what happens is almost like every single LED is terrible at providing these biological signals, no matter what color it is. It's
Oh.
terrible at doing it.
Oh.
The previous fluorescent was maybe a little bit better. Incandescent is, it's all, I mean, no one uses incandescent anyways, but they were all optimized for what's called the lumens per watt. How many lumens you're getting out of that package for the least amount of watts, not knowing that there was all these other things that were super beneficial to make light really healthy for us. They only cared about vision. And
Oh.
that's how we got to this problem, I think.
Yeah. So help me understand how